Lesson 1: Academic Integrity. Alison Crick, 1999, explained that academic integrity is the moral code of ethical policy of academia. This includes values such as avoidance of cheating or plagiarism, maintenance of academic standard, honesty, and rigor in research and academic publishing. Academic integrity is practiced in majority of educational institutions. It is noted in mission statement and represented in honor of codes, but it also being taught in ethics classes and being noted in syllabus. What are the forms of academic dishonesty? The culture of academia requires that each student take responsibility for learning and for producing product that reflect his or her intellectual potential, curiosity, and capability. Students must represent themselves truthfully, claims only work that is their own, acknowledge the uses of others' words, research results, and ideas, using the method accepted by the appropriate academic disciplines, and engage honesty in all academic assignment. Academic dishonesty is any type of cheating that occurs in relation to a formal academic exercises. What are the forms of academic dishonesty? First, plagiarism. The adoption of reproduction of ideas or word or statement of another person. Second, fabrication. The falsification of data, information, or citation in any formal academic exercises without due acknowledgement. Number 3 is cheating. Any attempt to give or obtain assistance in a formal academic exercises like an examination without due acknowledgement. Fourth is sabotage. Acting to prevent others from completing their work. These include cutting pages out of library books or disrupting the experiment of others. So, academic dishonesty harms the learning experience and gives cheaters an unfair advancement over those who abide by the rules. We should avoid academic dishonesty because it can ruin our academic learning. So, what are the tips and action that we can do to avoid academic dishonesty? Here are some of the tips. Start your assignment early and stay on track with due dates. Ask for help from your professor. Take careful notes as you did your research and organize your sources. Work with a librarian or the writing center to integrate the site resources and avoid plagiarism. So let's move on to our another topic, which is intellectual property. Intellectual property refers to creation of the mind, such as invention, literary and artistic work, design and symbol names and images used in commerce. Also, intellectual property incentivizes entrepreneurs to keep pushing for new advances in the face of adversity. Intellectual property therefore facilitates the free flow of information by sharing unprotected know-how critical to the origin patented invention. In turn, this process leads to new innovations and improve on existing one. Also, it will reassure investor to increasing margin using your patents strategically can improve your bottom line. So let's move on to another topic, which is the type of intellectual property. First in the list is copyright. Copyright or author's right is a legal term used to describe the right that creators have over their literary and artistic work. Second is patents. Patents is an exclusive right granted for an invention, which is a product or a process that provide a general new way of doing something or offer a new technical solution to a problem. Third is trademark. Is a sign capable of distinguishing the goods or services of one enterprise from those of other enterprises. Trademark are protected by intellectual property rights. Fourth is industrial design. An industrial design continues the ornamental or aesthetic aspect of an article. It may consist of three-dimensional features such as the shape of article or two-dimensional features such as the pattern, lines, and color. So here are my overall understanding about intellectual property. Intellectual property referred to the creation of the mind. Intellectual property rights are important because they can set your businesses apart from competitors, be sold or licensed, providing an important revenue stream. Also, patents is the most common type of intellectual property right that may come to the people mind when they think of intellectual property right protection. So let's move on to another lesson, which is lesson 2. Lesson 2 is just a brief discussion, so bear with me. The lesson is academic writing, the resolve. A good style must be first be clear. Let's start with a saying by Aristotle, The Art of Rhetoric 350 BCE. Style to be good must be clear, as it proved by the fact that speech which failed to convey a plain meaning will fail to do just what speech has to do. It must also be appropriate, avoiding both meaningless and undue elevation. Poetically, language is certainly free from meaningless, but it is not appropriate to prose. So Aristotle defined that rhetorically as someone who is always able to see what is persuasive. Correspondingly, rhetoric is defined as the ability to see what is possibility persuasive in every given case, the art of speaking or writing effectively. So let's move on to another topic, which is paraphrasing. Is the act of getting the G's from the material. It is marked by new word that is synonymously to those previously used, despite the replacement or omission of some vocabularies. It should be noted that the entire idea is not altered. The beauty of paraphrasing is not that is allowed a reader to express the concept in his own way without sacrificing the intended meaning. Also, paraphrasing is a method of rewrite something in your own words in order to show that you have understand the source well. Paraphrasing is mostly simplified into a simple sentence for a better understanding for a group of people with a less technical background.
Hi everyone, so I'm Christian M. Erog from BSHM 1A Evening. So today I will be tackling the lesson 3, the research process. Research is what I'm doing when I don't know what I'm doing. By Werner von Braun. So what is research? According to Malolos, 1979, process of scientific thinking that leads to discovery of establishment of new knowledge or truth. And according to Skates, 1972, continuous discovery and exploration of the unknown. It entails an investigation of facts new to you, leading to the discovery of new ideas, new method, or new improvement. Overall, they stated that research is born of problems and of man's determination to solve problems, and that the understanding which result in integrated into descriptive, explanatory, and prescriptive system and concept constitutes science. The rationale of the research. A rationale is one of the requirements in writing a research project. It is a written statement of the reason and justifications why a research is conducted. A rationale is specifically designed to inform a specific reader on the impact of the whole study. So a research rationale is a set of reasons that explain why a study is necessary and important based on its background. It's also known as the justification of the study rationale or thesis statement. Here are the 10 tips in writing the rationale. First is identify what you want to write in your rationale. Secondly, state the importance and significance of your study. Third, identify the specific respondent of your study. Fourth, state whether your study will be done individually, by pair, or by group. Fifth is formulate question for rationale statement and answer them. And the sixth is explain what you want to do in your study. Seventh, write the benefits of your study. 8. Discuss the problems and solutions in your study. And 9. Explain what methods will be utilized in your study. And lastly, 10 is cite any relevant sources to support your rationale and to ensure your reader. Research methodology. The research methodology is the systematic process of collecting information and data for the purpose of investigating and analyzing a phenomenon condition. Research methodology is the specific procedures or technique used to identify, select, process, and analyze information about the topic. In research paper, the methodology sections allows the reader to critically evaluate a study's overall validity and reliability. Sampling methods are classified as either probability or no probability. Probability sample each member of the population has a known non-zero probability of being selected. Probability methods includes random sampling, systematic sampling, and stratified sampling. The non-probability sampling members are selected from the population in some non-random manner. This includes convenience sampling, judgment sampling, quota sampling, and snowball sampling. So here are the 6 sampling methods. The first sampling method is the random sampling. Random sampling is the purest form of probability sampling. Each member of the population has an equal and known chance of being selected. When there are very large populations, it is often difficult or impossible to identify every member of the population, so the pool of available subjects becomes biased. The second sampling method is the systematic sampling. The systematic sampling often used instead of random sampling. It is also called an NTH name selection technique. After the required sample size has been calculated, every NTH record is selected from a list of population members. As long as the list does not contain any hidden order, this sampling method is as good as the random sampling method. The third sampling method is the convenience sampling. It is used in exploratory research where the researcher is interested in getting an inexpensive approximation of the truth. As the name implies, the sample is selected because they are convenient. This non-probability method is often used during preliminary research efforts to get a gross estimate of the result, without incurring the cost or time required to select a random sample. So the next sampling method is the judgment sampling. It is a common non-probability method. The researcher selects the sample based on judgment. This is usually an extension of convenience sampling. For example, a researcher may decide to draw the entire sample from one representative city, even though the population includes all cities. The fifth is the quota sampling. Quota sampling is a non-probability equivalent of stratified sampling. Just like stratified sampling, the researcher first identifies the stratums and their proportions as they are represented in the population. The last one sampling method is the snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is a special non-probability method used when the desired sample characteristic is rare. It may be extremely difficult or cost prohibitive to locate respondents in these situations. Social science research methodology. The scientific method, as implied to social sciences, includes a variety of research approaches, tools, and the techniques for collecting and analyzing qualitative or quantitative data. Social science research is the activity of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting information for a variety of social, economic, educational, and political purposes. Research respondents is a number of people who answered a survey. For most question types, each respondent provides only one answer to a question. There are also those persons who have been invited to participate in a particular study and have actually taken part in the study. This definition applies to both qualitative and quantitative studies. Research environment. Research environment refers to the population that was researched. You should describe how and where the research was conducted. Evans defines a research environment as including shared values, assumptions, beliefs, rituals, and other forms of behavior whose central focus is the acceptance and recognition of research practice and output as valued, worthwhile, and preeminent activity. Studying the research environment can yield concrete progress in understanding research capacity building. Instrument and gathering of data. Research instruments are tools used for data collection and analysis. Examples of research instruments include interviews, questionnaires, online surveys, and checklists. Choosing the right research instrument is essential as it can reduce data collection time and provide more accurate results for the research purpose. Data gathering is the process of gathering and measuring information on variables of interest in an established, systematic fashion that enables one to answer stated research questions, test hypotheses, and evaluate outcomes. Data collection components of research is common to all fields of study, which includes physical and social sciences, humanities, business, and etc. While methods vary by discipline, the emphasis on ensuring accurate and honest collection remains the same. Treatment of data. Treatment of data is taking raw data and turning it into something that can be interpreted and used to make decisions. Correct treatment of data in research is important in maintaining the authenticity, reliability, and accuracy of the research. Treatment of data means the access collection, use, processing, storage, sharing, distribution, transfer, disclosure, security, destruction, and or disposal of identifiable personal information. Data interpretation and analysis reminders. The first reminder is to not just merely read your data. Provide explanation for the figures, answers, and results by making inferences. In other words, make senses out of the data gathered. Second is if you are using a theoretical frameworks for your study, refer to the frameworks by linking them to the result. And third, as you interpret and analyze the data, you may go back to your related literature to confirm or disagree a previous statement by other scholars. And fourth, avoid making sweeping and strong interpretations and claims. Always make a room for others' potential explanation of the data. So that's all from my part. So I hope that everyone understand my report. Thank you.
So the next topic, we will talk about what are communications for academic purposes. So what are academic communication? Academic communication involves presenting ideas effectively and formally in a scholastic environment. If you attend an institution of higher education, you can use these skills to contribute to the academic conversation with your teachers and peers. Academic communications, also called scholarly communication, refers to the methods of communications that are highly structured and generally only used in pedagogical settings. Scholarly communication involves creations, publication, dissemination, and discovery of academic research, primarily in peer-reviewed journals and books. So, some examples of academic communications are textbooks, presentation, dissertations, research articles, and lectures. Moreover, there are also types of academic communication. So, the four main types of academic writing are descriptive, analytical, persuasive, and critical. Each of these types of writing has a specific language, features, and purposes in many academic texts. You will need to use more than one type. So these are the four main types of academic writing, which is the descriptive, refers the primary purpose of descriptive writing is to describe a person, place, or things in such a way that a picture is capturing an event. Through descriptive writing involves paying close attention to the details by using all of your five senses. So the next is analytical. Shows the thought process you went through to arrive at a given conclusion and discuss the implications of this. So next is persuasive. Is a text in which the author tries to convince the reader of their point of view. So lastly, critical involves analyzing information to understand a problem or topic from more than one perspective. So next is basic skills in academic communication. Listening and speaking skills are crucial to your success at university. When you attend lectures, strong listening skills are essential. Not only will you be listening to your professors speak about abstract, complex concepts, you will also need to take effective notes that summarizes and help you learn the material. So these are effective listening and lectures First, evaluating information. While listening, you need to be able to identify which parts are important to write down. You should not try to write every word the professor says, but summarize key points in your own words. Next is organizing information. Even as you listen to the lecture the first time, you need to capture the relationships between the ideas, concepts that are being presented. Completing assigned readings before your lectures can help with this. So next is predicting information. Being able to anticipate how the information that comes up connects with what has been presented so far enhances your ability to understand the lecture. In addition, oral communication skills are essential to convey your understanding of course materials and participate fully in the classroom discussion. So next is communication in a research-based journal. Review of Communication Research is an open-access academic journal that publishes comprehensive and authoritative literature reviews and meta-analysis of the current state of the main topics and the most significant developments in the field of communication. These comprehensive critical reviews will summarize the latest advance in the field, but also will root out errors and will provoke intellectual discussions among scholars. So, an open access journal with the highest quality, the journal seeks both evaluative systematic literature, reviews narrative literature, and state of the literature articles, and quantitative meta-analysis papers that makes a state of the art of issues and scientific communication. Interactive review articles that connect different areas of research are of special interest. So next is peer review process. The purpose of the review process is to give an expert opinion regarding the quality of the manuscript being considered. The review process should provide the authors with information on how to improve the article and make it publishable in a first-line journal. Therefore, the reviewer's task is to help the authors to improve their paper. Reviewers can sign the published article or stay blind as they wish. So next is publication frequency. This means that articles are being published as each individual article completes production. The articles are assigned to the present volume or the following volume, according to the time of the year when they are published. So the last is open access policy. This journal provides immediate open access to its content on the principle that making research freely available to the public supports a greater global exchange of knowledge. So, lastly, the second topic is communication and academic papers. So, academic papers are thoroughly written materials that follows the requirements of tone, diction, styles, voice, and etc. Appropriate to a target audience or culture. Academic papers include but not limited to term papers, theses, dissertations, case study, and study papers. Additionally, academic papers have a style that includes diction and tone. The major objective when thinking about style is to convey information in a way that is appropriate for the readership and the purpose of the writing. Consistency is crucial since inconsistent arguments weaken the credibility of papers. So these are the following styles of academic papers. So first is diction. Is a word of choice that refers to a writer's purposeful word choice along with syntax. Diction can be used to create tone and imagery in creative writing. Think about your writing's purpose and the message you want to convey. So, example, formal diction are not angry, but the casual diction aren't mad. So, the slang also is very informal, ain't ticket. Besides the level of formality, also consider positive or negative connotations of the words chosen. There are also positive and negative examples. So, the positive is pruning the bushes, the politician stands. And also the negative is slashing at the bushes, the politician spin. It's nearly never a good idea to use certain dictions when writing. Avoid using cliches, wordness, ambiguity, language with more than one equally likely meaning, and too sophisticated language. So next is the tone. Tone reveals the author's attitude about a subject or topic to the reader. It can be delivered in different ways like through word choice, punctuation, and sentence structure. It's similar to when you're engaging with someone in person. Your facial expression, vocal speech, and body language might convey a certain tone that informs the language you use in conversation. So next is tone versus voice. Example, tone is attitude and voice is personality. Tone is conveyed through diction, choice, and use of words and phrases. Viewpoint, syntax, grammar, how you put words and phrases together. And level of formality, it is the way you express yourself in speech or writing. So the next is style. The author's word choice, sentence, structure, figurative, language, and sentence arrangement all work together to establish mood, images, and meaning in the text. So the different styles can be influenced by author's skill set or by the medium of writing, whether it's book or a newspaper. For example, the most common types of style are expository, descriptive, persuasive, and narrative. This kind of writing does not include the author's opinion. Next is appropriate tone and business communication. So communication is a vital in the workplace. Whether you're on a sales call with a potential client or leading a team meeting on new procedures, almost everything you do is dependent upon how you communicate with others. What many don't realize is that your tone can affect your communication in business, both positively and negatively, making your interactions highly engaging or incredibly off-putting. So, why is tone important? 10% of conflict is due to difference of opinion and 90% to the tone of voice anonym. When speaking with others, your tone clarifies and conveys meaning. A phrase as a sample, I don't know, can be taken in a number of different ways depending on how you decide to express it. Your tone can not only affect how people perceive you but also their willingness to listen to you, especially in the workplace. So there are also effects on the workplace. So the majority of the time, people can control the words they use to communicate with others, but it can more difficult for them to control their tone. Tone has a significant impact on productivity at work. When offering guidance or suggestions, manager or coworker is displaying a negative one if they come off as annoyed, bored, or uninterested. This could affect how workers view their manager or colleague, which will be detrimental to overall engagement and morale. So these are followings on how to improve tonal communications. First is, if there's a problem, address it. So address a problem, come to a resolution, and move on. So second is, listen to yourself. So recording conversation to learn how to interact with others. So the third is, reflect. So reflect on how you're feeling before going into work to avoid blowing up on innocent bystanders. So even though improving tone can create a positive work environment and strengthen understanding and improve teamwork.
I am Marina Lintikili, discussing you the awareness of audience and context in presenting ideas. Audience matter and presenting ideas when you are in the process of writing a paper. Whether you have thought about it consciously or not, you are always right to an audience. Sometimes you have audience is a very generalized group of readers. Sometimes you know the individuals who compose the audience, and sometimes you write for yourself. Keeping your audience in mind while you write, it can help you make good decisions about what material to include, how to organize your ideas, and how to support your argument. To illustrate the impact of audience, imagine you are writing a letter to your grandmother to tell her about your first month of college. What details and stories might you include? And what might you leave out? Now imagine that you are writing on the same topic but your audience is your best friend. Unless you have an extremely cool grandma to whom very close, it is likely that your two letters would look quite different in terms of context, structure, and even tone. So, isn't my instructor my audience? Yes. Your instructor is probably the actual audience for your paper. Your instructor read and grade your essays, and you want to keep her needs and perspective in mind what you write. However, when you write an essay with only your instructor in mind, you might not say as much as you should, or say it as clearly as you should, because you assume that the person grading it knows more than you do and will fill in the gaps. This leaves it to the instructor to decide what you're really saying, and she might decide differently than you expect. For example, she might decide that those gaps show that you don't know and understand the material. Remember the time when you said to yourself, "Don't have to explain the communism. My instructor knows about or more about than I do," and got back a paper and said something like, "Show no understanding of communism." That's an example of what you can go when you think of your instructor as your only audience. Thinking about your audience differently can improve your writing, especially in terms of how clearly you express your argument. The clearer your points are, the more likely you are have to a strong essay. Your instructor will say he really understands communism. He's able to explain it simply and clearly. By treating your instructor as an intelligent by an informed audience, you end up addressing her more effectively. So, how do I identify my audience and what they want from me? Before you even begin the process of writing, take some time to consider who's your audience is and what they want from you. So this is the following question to help you identify your audience and what you can do address their wants and needs. So first, who is your audience? Second, might you have more than one audience? If so, how many audience do you have? List them as you can. Then, does your assignment itself give any clue about your audience? Or they know about they know the topic or something? And next is, what does your audience need? What do they want? What do they value? Or what do they need to understand about your topic, or you want a message or the learnings they want from you? What is the most important to them? Next is, what are they least likely to care about? Next is, what kind of organization would best help your audience understand and appreciate your argument? Next is, what do you have to say? Or what are you doing in your research that might surprise your audience? What do you want your audience to think, learn, or assume about you? What impression do you want to write or you're writing on your research to convey? So, once you are able to determine your audience, the next thing to do is to convey your ideas by way oral presentation, audiovisual presentation, or web-based presentation. The next topic I discuss is conveying ideas through oral presentation. So in oral presentation of ideas, there are 5 tips to remember for an effective presentation. So first is know your audience. So these are the first steps that a presentation must know before facing the audience. It is always a good idea to structure your talk so that anyone in the audience can understand what you are presenting. A good scientist should be able to present complex scientific ideas no matter how technical it may be. Complexity is not a necessity. It is an annoyance. Understand your purpose. This way you can get the point of your talk across appropriately and effectively by catering to your specific audience. So second is be organized. So the first is whether you are giving 15-minute talk or 45-minute talk, make sure you give yourself enough time to deliver all of the information you want in a calm manner. Allocate time for question and answer, and be able to summarize your presentation in 5 minutes. And be concise. Use your space wisely. Use illustration, check grammar, spelling, and layout of each side. Next is keeping an outline with your doing presentation. It will help you stay on track. And prepare backup slides. This will come in handy if a question comes up about topic that needs further explanation. So third is practice your presentation. Practice your talk enough so that you have flow, but know so much that you have the entire talk memorized. So kani siya kay imong i-practice imong talk pero dili nimo kailangan memorizon, bisag mga clue words lang para ma-address nimo ang imong topic. Memorizing your talk will bore you and your audience as it will be monotonous. Number 4, be professional. Know what you are presenting and be ready to answer questions during and after presentation. So need din nimo nga mag-ready ka sa tanan, like sa mga question nga unexpected, sa mga question nga naasa imong presentation. Next is do not answer question vaguely. A knowledgeable scientist is specific and accurate with his or her information. Dress up to present with confidence and respect for the audience the science involved. So, para pud maka-feel sila or maka-feel kang respeto, dapat dress appropriately, dapat imong manner dili ka ng kiat, or dapat be professional jud as long as you can. Be enthusiastic. Scientific talks can be boring as often as they are full technical jargon. Be clear and talk simplistically. Make sure the presentation is visually pleasing. Add pertinent graphics. So, need mo nga dapat clear, and also the presentation is dili boring. Diba? Og boring kay mawadan jud og gana. So, 5 is beware of technical problems. Make sure the format you choose for your presentation is compatible with your styles of speech. Also, be prepared for technical disaster just before your talk. Be able to give your talk in another format just in case your first choice fails to load. So, example ani kay ang PowerPoint presentation. Like mga technical problems na ay ka ng kuan, dapat very ready na lang jud na kay plan B. The next is significance of oral presentation. Significance of oral presentation. So, oral presentation are an excellent means of communicating basic science or clinic research. Unlike poster presentation or a writing manuscript, the audience during an oral presentation is more attentive as they focus on a presenter. For the research, this is a rare opportunity to shine. In as few as 5 minutes, the researcher can convey scientific information and give a year's worth work some meaning that can be useful to thousands of people. Of course, this also means that in as little as 5 minutes, the researcher can cause a great deal of confusion by giving a bad presentation. Just as is the case with written manuscript and poster presentation, oral presentation must also communicate research to include all aspects of the scientific method. There are, however, no rules as to what order and which format this could be done in. In order to deliver a successful talk, the presenter should be organized, prepared, and enthusiastic about the research being presented. So, there are general guiding in designing oral presentations. So, here are some general guidelines to keep in mind when you're designing your presentation. So, first is title. This includes authors and affiliation. Second is introduction. This also includes the background, purpose, and hypothesis. Number 3 is a method. A brief introduction to the methodology without too much technical jargon. Number 4, results. Use graphs, chart, or tables that provide an extra slide or transparency with a summary of the result, and also explain the results. Number 5 is conclusion or discussion. Clear explanation of a result, clinical implication. So number 6 is future work. Provide information on where the project is headed. And number 7 is acknowledgement. So the presentation proper. There are some people whom public speaking is a natural of having a conversation with their friends. Conveniently, however, public speaking is an art that can be perfect with enough practice. So, if mag-practice ka, ma-improve jud or ma-enhance imong public speaking, ana. So, here are something that consider before and during presentation. So, do not go over the limit. di ba? So understandable na sad siguro nga dili ta pwede mo lapas, di sad ta pwede makwangan. So second is speak clearly and concisely, be coherent, do not ramble, play with the pointer or move around in circles. Next is dress appropriately. So as agisulti na ko ganina na mag-dress kag appropriate para I mean makana sila nga ay professional. That doesn't mean nga professional kay tungod imo na imong gisulod, but kanang neat clean lang unta ba, like kanang nindot lang unta tan-aw sa pananaw sa audience, like ganyo sila ana. Next is make an eye contact. So, kanang make eye contact is like nagpasabot ka sa imong topic or nagpasabot ka nga unta masabtan nila, or the more nga makasabot sila if mag eye contact or mag-focus sila sa imong topic. Next is make sure that each slide or transparency is not cluttered with too many points and ideas. Graphs, tables, and charts should be clearly labeled and easy to interpret. Next is practice your talk but do not memorize the script. As I said earlier, do not memorize the script. Just practice your talk. Next is be visually and orally interesting. Next is answer question in a calm, condescending manner. Do not argue with or interrupt the questioner. So, dili mo, answer the question, pero dili ka pwede nga ma-interrupt sa questioner while mag-talk pa siya or mag-question pa nimo for further nga explanation. Next is be polite and graceful. And lastly, give a presentation that is focused with one underlying message. So na may uban nga ang ilahang itapik kay ang ilahang isulti layo na silang topic. So must be i-focus with one underlying message, bisag at least lang nga ma-connect dito pero kanang dili na pud kaayo layo. So that's all. Thank you.